everyone, and welcome to another episode of my Woman Who Inspires series. My name is Sreshtha Tewari. I am a motivational speaker and wholeness guide, and I'm also the director of the Self-Worth, Leadership, and Empowerment Consultancy. My ultimate goal in life is mental freedom for all women. In this series, we speak about our emotions that are perceived as negative. We speak about how these emotions are really pushing us to something better for ourselves, whether it is we need to come out of the situation that we are currently in, or it may even be that it is pushing us to a bigger purpose. Today, I have one of my very special friends with me. Her name is Dr. Megan. Dr. Megan is a 4-year naturopathic doctor. She's a specialist in helping you heal fully from your disease. She is originally from France and she loves giraffes. She's the owner of Health Organizers and she has a PhD from the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine. Welcome to the series, Dr. Megan. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yes, so Dr. Megan, when I messaged her, Dr. Megan told me she was already living her passion when her incident happened to her. But I thought it is also amazing. I love getting different stories because the truth is, no matter where we are in life, we may have some challenge, and it's all about how we traverse through that challenge. So, Dr. Megan, I invite you now to share your emotional healing journey.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. When she invited me, as she said, she wanted me to sort of share how this experience, how I've healed from, let's say, emotional trauma, etc. And she did also mention about how it's helped, moving past this incident to live your passion. And that's why she mentioned that I responded, well, I am already living my passion. So maybe I can explain that a little bit more. Like she said, I'm from France. We moved here. I'm in the US now. We moved here when I was a little girl. And I always knew from a little girl that I wanted to be a doctor. So that is what I did. I mean, since probably 10, I knew I was going to be a doctor. And so all of my education and university, etc., was towards that end. So I was already a doctor when this little health crisis that I'm going to maybe relate now happened. But let's say what I'm going through right now is probably the biggest emotional insult that I've been through recently. But it wasn't the start of my health woes, I'd say. My health issues really began when I was 24 and I was diagnosed with systemic lupus. That's an autoimmune disease. There are actually two of those kinds of lupus. One that just affects the skin, like on the outside of your skin. So for example, if you are familiar with the international singer called Seal, his scars on his face were caused by a lupus, the skin one, okay? I don't have the skin one. I have the one that affects organs. It's more serious. And so the thing is, that's autoimmune, meaning your immune system gets confused for a few random, for specific reasons. But once it does, it doesn't attack things it really should attack all the time, like, viruses, bacteria, stuff like that. It's now attacking you. Any autoimmune disease is like that. So anyway, that did put me in the hospital probably for about a month back then. And I was in a foreign country. At the time, I was in Cuba because I was going to go to medical school there. I didn't know anything about naturopathic medicine or natural medicine at the time. And I did want to be a doctor, so that was what I was going to do. The point is, after being hospitalized there, I came back home. I sort of did a natural healing program, like juicing, no eating, waters, teas, walking on the grass, enemas, fever baths, all this stuff. I really made a very good recovery, in my opinion. And so I kind of erroneously thought I was healed and everything was okay. And I was not working with a doctor, so I really didn't have anyone to check this for me, right? So fast forward, I go to med school at 27, naturopathic med school, because from that experience, that was the first thing that sort of, opened my eyes to, wow, I mean, people can heal from stuff, even though I wasn't technically healed yet, but I kind of thought I was. And so by 38, I start noticing that my blood pressure is going higher. And, here in the US, the standard is, so less than 120 is the top number, less than 120 over less than 80. And so mine is like 170 over 110. And also my cholesterol was also higher. Should be less than 199. Mine is now 158. And so just like they say in baseball, 3 strikes and you're out. So I got this lupus, then I get the cholesterol, then I get the blood pressure, and I get these strokes. The thing is, it wasn't just the strokes. I ended up having, it's funny how it happened is I was driving home. I came out of my car. I put my purse on the hood and I expected to just get the mail. But all of a sudden, both of my legs went numb. It's like I couldn't feel them anymore. And as you can imagine, I collapsed from that. And I was just laying there and I really just couldn't get back up. So finally, a guy came and sort of picked me up and helped me up. And like I said, that was the beginning of it. My speech started slurring. I stopped using my right arm, and I am right-handed. And so I remember driving to the hospital, which is just maybe 10 minutes away. I really only remember half of the drive because the other half, by then I was already unconscious. I stayed unconscious for the next 5 weeks. I went into a coma. And that's because besides the strokes, then I also had a bacterial lung infection with Pseudomonas. He's very nasty, meaner than COVID. And then I also had a kidney failure because the lupus attacked the kidneys again. So I had to be on dialysis. Last thing was a bleed in my digestive system for some unknown reason. So frankly, after 2 weeks, they wanted to put me into hospice. My mom is a nurse, and so of course she declined that. By 5 weeks, still in the coma, they're like, look, she's going to die. So they really, my mom had to ask for this visit. She just told me this. Because remember, this is April 2020. It's now at the beginning of COVID. Nobody's getting visitors for anything in the hospital unless you're either dying or you're having a baby. And they still didn't offer it to her. She had to demand it, basically. And she really just harassed them so much that they gave in. That's what she told me. So anyway, I had emerged from my coma when they did get there, her and my dad. I couldn't talk to them, though, because I had stopped breathing on my own. And I had a tube in my throat. And that's what this scar is right here. And so anyway, though, they patted my head, prayed with me, stuff parents do. They didn't tell me they're, there to say goodbye. But that was an interesting time. Of course, I was all alone there, but only really awake for a week. But then that's where I discovered that because of all the strokes and all this stuff, that I could no longer walk anymore. And I could see that they'd say, can you move your leg? Can you do this? And I couldn't do it. And so I could extend the leg even from the hospital. And to extend, it means to take your knee away from your chest, right? I could do that. I could not flex it, which means to bring the knee towards your chest. And I was very, very weak in the hospital. So essentially, that is, let's say, the biggest emotional crisis that I've had to this day. And I don't mind admitting that I'd say it was very difficult for me, at least the first 14 months after that. I'm now in my 21 months confined to a wheelchair completely, meaning if I'm not in the wheelchair, I'm in my bed. I'm not just sitting in a couch or on a chair somewhere. I mean, I can be on 2 places, in the wheelchair or in bed. It was difficult because, for one, I was just in shock. I don't even know why, because I told you I was a doctor, and not just a doctor, a naturopathic doctor. I mean, to me, we're like super doctors. That's like saying Bond, James Bond. He's like, oh yeah. When I say I'm an ND, that is our job, to study, to help people how to heal from their diseases, not just get a little bit better, your symptoms a little bit decrease. We help you heal I've helped people from diabetes, mainly type 2, from stage 4 metastatic cancers of lung, prostate, all this. And so this is our job. And so part of I'd say the first, if it's regret or guilt, it was probably a combination of how did I let myself get here? I am a doctor. The next thing that happened very shortly after I got home from rehab in June was that because nobody had made any payments for my car, right? The car payment would have been due at the end of April. I had my strokes on April 22nd. So obviously that was no payment. May, I'm still in a coma. May 22nd, I'm still in a coma. So nobody paid that month. And now by June 22nd, yeah, I just woke up. I think I got home from rehab on June 20th. So again, there's no payment, no communication, no nothing for 3 months. So the next thing I know, I wake up and Dad's like, your card's gone. I was like, oh. And I knew it was the, car people. So besides that, I couldn't drive it anyway, so I wasn't upset. But the point is, not only did I lose my car, I also lost all independence, meaning in those early days, I was so weak, I could not even turn myself. Thing is, when you're used to moving, once you cannot move, it would wake me up. And now I can't sleep at all. And I already have insomnia from being in the hospital. You know how they come in at all hours of the night to poke you and prod you and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So that was that. I also was too weak to even get in my wheelchair regularly like that. Meaning when I was in the hospital, they wanted me to sit in a special chair just to keep the pressure from off my lungs, fluid buildup. And I couldn't be in that chair more than an hour because after 5 weeks of no muscle use, all of them would cramp up after an hour. I'm on there crying in the chair. So obviously I can't be in a wheelchair much. So I say, you lost the car, lost the independence, lost all my patients as well. I'm not working at all. Kind of lost my self-confidence as well, like as a woman, because let's face it, I got some attention before, right? But hey, you all know I'm not modest. It's not me. It's, God gave me everything I have, but it's my job to maintain it now. But she could do it pretty too, as you can see. So anyway, the point is I'm used to, let's say, a certain amount of attention, but now nobody's looking at me. I mean, nobody. I think the wheelchair probably scares them off. And frankly, if I'm honest, I wouldn't be looking at no guy hard either if he was in the wheelchair, you know what I mean? So that was gone. I said, Lord have mercy. Well, what helped to turn it around a little bit was when my old childhood pastor, he came. Y'all know I'm a Christian. He came here. And of course, I was blaming myself for all this. I did for a long time. So anyway, the pastor came here and I was sort of lamenting how I'd let this happen to myself. And he said, you know what God told me? He said, he told me that he let this happen to you more so to affect all the people around you. I was like, oh. And, that did give me a little comfort, I don't mind saying. Now, frankly, I'll be honest with you. I am a doctor, a naturopath, so I do not believe in any shape or sense that you can completely ignore your health and expect nothing to happen to you. I am not saying that. In fact, when I thought of his words, yes, I said it comforted me. At the same time, that's like, oh, okay, this is why it happened. Because I need to show people. No, you did not take care of your health. And this is why it happened. A big part of it. So frankly, I attribute my own inactivity towards my health, knowing better, to be, let's say, 70% of this crisis, right? Mm-hmm. Most of it, if not 80%. But I will allow for 20%, because I don't think the pastor's lying. So I will allow for 20% to be, okay, God is going to use this experience to help other people around me, okay? So I said, okay. So that did help me feel better. The second thing that helped me more so emotionally is that one of my friends who's also a nurse, Stephanie, hey Stephanie, she's she's probably not watching, but I just say hello. She's in North Georgia. I'm here in Georgia. She's maybe about an hour and a half north from me, so we don't see each other often at all, maybe once a year, if that at all. And so the point is, though, after that time, she'd been down here quite a bit to help me. She set up so I'm not incontinent, meaning I know when I can pee and poop, but because I can't walk, I can't get to the bathroom. In addition, the bathroom here is not accessible. For one, that has a step, that's the main issue, a step. So I'd have to step down. I could not step my wheelchair down. And then on top of it, the hallway is so narrow, it's not really big enough for a wheelchair, maybe for a person to walk. And then even if I got through the hallway to make that very sharp right turn, it's just impossible. It's impossible. So anyway, the point is I'm now standing up, but I could not do it at the time. So I had to wear a diaper. She set all that up. She set up rotating monthly diapers, wipes, just everything I needed. She's a very good friend. I didn't ask her to do that. While she was here, she said, why don't we set up a GoFundMe account for you? Where people donate money to your cause. I said, okay, I really didn't expect anything out of it. And so after that, she did everything. She put it on the GoFundMe, put a picture of me looking crazy in my bed. And I saw the hospital gown on and everything. And she put that up there. And I was just shocked by people's generosity, because basically they started giving immediately. And it was from people from all my walks of life, from high school, from college. I don't really have many friends from college, but yeah, I do have one or two. They gave from med school, primarily med school, obviously. And even from when I worked at the hotel before I was a doctor, like I say, from all walks of life. And they basically, so they probably raised on their own, just that GoFundMe, at least $22,000 for me from just that. And then the college friends on their side, they had people giving them money who did not have my GoFundMe, and they raised another 5,000 just from their side. So honestly, I was really touched by that. But this is the middle of COVID, and people will still take money literally out of their own mouths to help me in my time of distress. So that was very touching. And that's sort of what kept me alive for quite a few months, as I told you. Another emotional hit, I think, with all this is being idle. So I've always worked since at least, 14? So now to be like, what do I do all day? By the end of the year, though, in December, I was very excited, because that was maybe 8 months after my strokes. And that's the first time I stood up.
Yeah.
I stood up with December 2020, I stood up with my walker. And honestly, again, throughout this whole experience, I was very naive, even as a naturopathic doctor, of how long this recovery might take. And frankly, I was hoping that I'd already be up and walking by 1 year. So in December, once I saw, okay, I'm standing up, I'm walked by April. April would have been a year. So when April came and went, I was not even able to stand alone. Like I said, I stood with the walker. Even now, I don't, not that yet. I don't have the strength to just get up off the wheelchair or get up off of something without pushing myself up. Okay. So they're not there yet. The lady at church, she said, Megan, I need you to stop putting God in a box. Now you are going to walk again, but you just need to wait and let it be on his time. Put it in your effort, but it's not going to be when you want it. It's going to be when he wants it. And she knew what she was talking about, because I think she'd had a spinal surgery that went bad, and that made her not walk. Obviously not as long as me, but yeah, at least 3-4 months, something like that. So basically, by December of 2020, I realized, okay, this GoFundMe money, even though my mom is the one administering it, meaning I'm like a 10-year-old again. She's like, I said, can I buy this, that? She'd be like, no. I was like, well, what about this? No. I was like, really? It's my money. And I'm an adult. But anyway, moms know best. And she did do a good job. She stretched out that money. And so anyway, though, by December of 2020, I realized you need to start working again, because this money is running out. Initially people, and I got many donations, meaning some people donated as many as 5-6 times. It may just be 100 each time, but there's still other people gave one big lump sum. Like I got 500, I got 600, I got 1,000. Okay. But for the most part, by December 2020, it's starting to dwindle down. So I said, okay, let me start working again. So that's when one of my BFS, Dr. LebonND, and ND like me, she was the one that said, okay, have you heard of Clubhouse? I was like, what's that? And so she told me about that in December. When I initially joined in December, I only went into the business rooms to just figure out, okay, what can I do for my practice now? And so that's what I did for a while. And I got very good advice from them, which was, okay, if you're a gut doctor, start your own gut rooms. And so that's what I did. Now, originally, when I first did, I didn't really get many people interested. At the same time, I also started to enter into other rooms about health and raise my hand and just come up on stage. Well, as I've been doing that sort of routinely with this one club called Observing Herbs on Clubhouse, the leader of that club, Gina, she said, well, Dr. Megan, why don't you open up your gut rooms under, Observing Herbs, and everybody that's a member will then see that you're having that room. And at the time, I think they had maybe 20,000 members or something.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, now they're like over 40, I think. But the point is, at that time, so I said, okay, yeah, thank you. And so the contrast between when I opened the room alone to under Observing Herbs, well, then the attendance was 160. So I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is it. So, and that's how it blossomed. So yeah, my plan is to, walk again in 2022. That's my plan. And that's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. It's such an interesting and emotional story, and it really teaches you a lot about the things we can't take for granted. And one day you could wake up and not have these things. But I mean, even going through, like, you already on your path doing what you loved, and then these things happened, and all of this self-blame, which people do, saying you should have known better. And the thing is, we always know to take care of other people, but sometimes we don't do what we should be doing for ourselves. So I mean, you went through all of that. I remember, because we are in some of the same rooms in Clubhouse, when Dr. Megan would celebrate her milestones of being able to do little things. And I do remember when she celebrated the day she stood up. And you are so honest and fun, Dr. Megan. I mean, you're honest about the fact that this really broke you, but then you appreciated the messages from the persons around you, your pastor, so saying that this is happening to help other people around you go through their emotional journey and help take care of you. So I really want to thank you so much, Dr. Megan, for sharing such a powerful story, a story about appreciating what you have, a story about being okay where you are, and knowing that, sometimes you blame yourself, because we all know we take better care of others than ourselves, but also about taking the learnings from the persons around you. And you were very honest, the 70-20. I love your honesty. So I really want to thank you so much for coming on this series. And to my audience, I will see you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.